I can go into some of what the wilderness therapy experience was like and how that kind of started if you guys want.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let's start with that experience because I wanted to hear more about that.
Okay, well, so I have somewhat of a traumatic childhood, nothing like super crazy, but I had like my dad was an alcoholic and um I just went through some hard stuff as a kid. So when I was about 15, I started lashing out, smoking weed, I ran away. So my parents or my mom gave me a decision of what I want to do. So I decided to go to this wilderness therapy program where you just meditate every day and you do yoga every day. And yeah, you just hike all the time and learn how to bow drill. And
Sounds ideal.
yeah, you learn how to build shelters and like you learn about yourself too. You do a lot of work with talking about how you're feeling. Like pretty much anytime you're feeling something, you call a group meeting, and it's not as cheesy as it sounds. It's kind of like a tribal kind of thing. Like you have chants and stuff, and we would like call like a chant or something, and everybody would get together and you'd say how you feel, and somebody would reflect it back to you, and that just like was a very psychedelic experience because just being with nature, like pretty much just fell in love with nature and fell in love with hiking. And yeah, if you guys want to ask me some questions about that, I could definitely answer some.
Yeah, like what I guess my first question is like how I can't remember if you just said it there, but how long was this experience, and was it nonstop, or was there a break in between or anything like that?
There were no breaks. It was like, so you pretty much, I got there, I went to Utah, and how it went down was I was there for 9 weeks. 9 weeks, the entire time outside. I didn't go inside once except for when we drove into the van into different areas into the wilderness. But when I first got there, I was in Utah, and I just like they drove me out on this Jeep into the middle of nowhere, and there was like this whole crew of like people that had dirt all over their faces. They looked like super grimy, and I couldn't talk to any of them. They were like they just looked like these super gnarly kids, and I was like, holy shit, where am I? Like, oh my god. And all the guides were like super gnarly, like just built ass guys with like long hair, looked like hippie shaman kind of guys. And so I was like, this is going to be a for real experience for sure. And they don't even give you a backpack when you get there. You have to put everything you have in a tarp and like tie it in this certain way and carry it around with these straps. So it's definitely not easy. They totally break you down, take all your clothes and everything. And the next day I started meditating, doing yoga, integrating into the group, and there was like a ceremony that I did for the group where like it was like this super symbolic ceremony where I was like at the bottom of this hill and I walked up and like all the people in the group were like saying what they wanted me to gain from the experience.
Wow, that's that's amazing. So so there were kids already in the course when you started, or did you start with like some kids that were newbies too, or
Yeah, there were already kids in the group. There were kids that had been there like 3 months in the woods. Like
oh
they
my god.
their yeah, their parents were like, you're gonna be out there until you figure your shit out. Like that place is definitely for real. Like it pretty much breaks anyone, and it sounds super gnarly and maybe scary, but the people there, like I can't express enough how loving and inviting they were to me, and like they showed me a lot about how to be just a nice person in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you said you're 18, right?
Yep. This whole thing happened when I was 15 years old.
Oh, okay. So were you one of
Wow.
the younger kids, or is that kind of the age group that they shoot for?
Yeah, it's like 15 to 18. They do like child programs pretty much like what I was in, and then they have like young adult programs for like 20-year-olds and up, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the really cool things that they teach there is just mindfulness and being in the moment. And that's some, like, pretty much everything they taught me there was like perfect for tripping. Like they
Yeah.
just like primed me for tripping, because you meditate every single day. Your breath, you work on your breath. Like if there's tension in the group, everybody stops and takes 3 deep breaths and like, you know, just like works their shit out. Like there's no secrecy, there's no hiding anything. It's a very like open program
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And like, I mean, did kids have stories where you felt like, oh man, like, I don't have it as bad, or, you know, was everyone kind of coming from the same, like needed the same things out of it?
Yeah, there were some really, it was pretty intense. So there was a point in my group where the group got too big, so we had to split up and go into different groups. And since I had been there the longest, I became the leader of the group. So I pretty much had like, I don't remember how many it was, but it was like 6 or 7 people depending on me to like plan things, and like just like I had to like pretty much lead the group with the help of the guides also. And there were kids that had like Xanax. Like there was a kid there who was like pretty much withdrawing from Xanax addiction, and there was kids there who had almost split personality disorder. So I definitely got really close and personal with some people who were going through some really, really heavy shit.
Yeah.
It was really profound to be able to help them, because I learned a lot, and I got to a place where I was able to like help them along the way into like leaving that place, because that's kind of where we were all kind of trying to go.
Yeah. Have you been able to keep in contact with anyone? I mean, did you make any, you know, friends out of it, or?
Yeah, I've kept in contact with a few friends, but I've never gotten a chance to see them. I actually moved to Durango, where the like thing is based out of, and I was like walking on the road the other day, and I saw one of the medics who like helped me, and it was really cool talking to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I know for the other people, it's changed them a lot also.
Oh, I imagine. I mean, I can't think of how, you know, someone could go through that and then just like, you know, 9 weeks is up and be like, whoo, thank God that's over, and just go back to being the way you were, you know?
Yeah, there's no way. Well,
Yeah.
I remember when I got out, I like looked in the mirror. I was like, it felt so weird to be in a gas station. I was like, there's a ceiling over my head. Like, what's going on right now? It was so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine like fluorescent lights were like blinding once you got underneath them again.
And you never really get a good look at your face the whole time. So like, I looked at my face, and it was like the first time I'd gotten like a full look at myself, and I was like, damn, I'm dirty. I had dirt all over myself. I was like so dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, well, when we talked before, you had said that, you know, you coming back, you know, like, back into society, that it felt, you know, the same as like after a trip, right?
Yeah, no, it was like more crazy than a trip. Like it was like on the same level of like your first trip, like the next day, like your first really profound trip, like where everything changes and you go outside and you just look around, you're like, man, I feel so different. Like it felt like that, like even more, because I'd just been out in the woods and like I hadn't eaten any processed food or anything. Like it was like all super healthy. So like, and like also with the therapeutic stuff, because we were working on our emotions so much and like expressing ourselves, like this culture doesn't accept that in any way. Like you're not really encouraged to express your emotions. So that was a really hard thing for me, because when you were there, you were encouraged to be 100% your authentic self, not to hold anything back. And when I got back into society, I realized that I had to hold a lot back, and that was pretty hard. But I got through it, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like this mindset that you have to have. It's kind of weird I don't know. After coming out of that, it was kind of a weird thing, just like having this super emotional therapeutic mindset and then seeing everybody like super fucked up and like depressed. It was just kind of hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, at least in my generation, because I'm around a lot of teenagers and I feel like a lot of teenagers are going through hard times in this day and age.
Yeah. Well, and like, you know, yeah, the day after a trip or whatever, you can have a feeling when you're among, you know, normies or whatever, of just, you know, like, oh, you guys don't know, you don't even know, you know. And I imagine that that's even more when you've been 9 weeks, you know, in the bush, and then you're walking around Walmart or something, you know. I would just be in my head like, oh, you guys don't even know what's up, you know.